Welcome to The Human Athlete, a podcast about life after sport and how to win it. I'm Jared Markowitz. I started this show because I've always been fascinated by what happens after the final whistle, when athletes have to rebuild purpose, discipline, and identity outside of competition. Every episode, you'll hear honest conversations with former athletes who are learning to lead, perform, and live with meaning beyond the game. Because the lessons sport teaches us can help us all live stronger, more intentional lives.
Today's guest is Jeff Mack, a former linebacker for the Wisconsin Badgers who played from 2000 to 2003 under legendary head coach Barry Alvarez. A Madison native and graduate of University of Wisconsin-Madison, Jeff was a 4-year starter at linebacker and one of the leaders of the Badgers defense, essentially the quarterback, during the early 2000s. He finished his career with nearly 300 tackles, served as a team captain in his senior season, and earned all Big Ten honors in 2003. He also shared MVP honors in the 2002 Alamo Bowl victory over Colorado. After graduating with a degree in real estate and urban land economics, Jeff briefly signed with the Minnesota Vikings before transitioning into the business world. Over the past 2 decades, he's built a successful career in banking and mortgage lending, holding leadership roles with institutions like BMO Harris and Park Bank in Madison, where he focuses on helping individuals and families navigate financial growth and homeownership. Additionally, and probably more importantly, he's a loving husband to Tiffany and father of 4 daughters. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Oh, man. Appreciate it, man. Great to be here and great to sit down and chat with you, man.
Love having you in person. It's fantastic.
Yeah, man. This is a nice setup you got. Man.
Thank you. So I think I want to just jump right into the college stuff, because the way I've liked to do these episodes is I want to talk about the athletic thing. I think it's important to understand, because the show is called The Human Athlete.
Yeah.
To have our listeners understand really the athletic piece for you.
Okay.
What character traits, what attributes, what things were instilled in you that you kind of recognize now. I mean, you 2 decades. In business. Hey, we're going to talk about how old you are. We're going to go down the road. Appreciate that. But plenty of business experience now where you can look back and reflect back on it and go, gosh, what did all those years of athletics really provide me that have helped me be successful in my career after athletics?
For sure. And again, man, thanks again for having me on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. There's a lot of people that you could have on, so I appreciate being one of them. But sports and football specifically for me, I think was instrumental in my youth and in my maturation as a human being and as a person and as a man in whatever respective career I was going to go into. Football taught me. I want to sit here and say everything I know.
Sure,
it's not true 100%, but it's a part of everything that I do. From the standpoint of, I think I used to say football was a great barometer for real life. And what I meant by that is it teaches you you're not as good as you think you are. You're not as bad as you think you are. There's always somebody working harder than you. Sometimes there might just be somebody that's better than you. You might be the person that's better, but then there is always somebody else. I remember a friend of mine went to the NBA. I remember getting a chance to see LeBron James as an 18-year-old. And I go, oh man, it's a different.
He's a grown man.
Yeah, he's a grown man. That's an adult right there as an 18-year-old. But I know you mentioned about me being with the Vikings.
Yeah.
And I remember my locker at that time was across from Randy Moss, and I just remember seeing like, oh, this is what my dad was talking about. Where like there's always somebody that's working harder than you or that could be better than you. Mm-hmm. That was him. And I just, that was the first time kind of, that wasn't my first time realizing it, but it was a very eye-opening.
Because at that time, it was the prime of his career. I mean, he was literally the best receiver in the NFL without question, for sure. Sure.
Yeah. And so, you learn that you're not as good as you are, as you think you are, you're not as bad as you think you are. You understand time management. You understand how to work with people you like, work with people you don't like. You understand that, like, you are the kind of arbiter of your own reality. Like, if you work hard, you can get there. And if you don't work hard, you will not get there. Like I think I realized through sports that I can control my reality.
Yeah.
By how hard I work, how, or if I cannot, it might be outside of my control. But it's hard to become a victim when you play sports and you understand that how much work you put into yourself, into your craft, is what gets presented on the field.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated that more than anything, and I value that mindset and mentality that it has provided me over the course of my life.
Well, and I think that as somebody who played athletics, not at Division I level, but understanding and looking back on it and going, what happened on the field, on the court. For me, I played golf too, on the golf course. The success you had was never instantaneous in that moment.
No.
Luck wasn't really a thing, right? Like, I got lucky because I put so much time and effort in that the thing that happened seemed lucky, but it's probably just a smaller mistake than yours because I've refined my craft and I've worked my butt off when no one else was looking.
Oh, for sure. I would, yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you. There are times when our work, or the work that we did to get to the point that we were at, foundationally was based off of how much, time, energy, effort you put into it. But then that luck, I used to always think, was a byproduct of the work that we put in.
Yeah.
As a teen, I played basketball, football, basically, when I was in high school. And then, growing up, I ran track a little bit, and I could tell you the stuff that I didn't put time into, I didn't perform.
Was a reflection of how you perform. Yeah, sure.
I'm a huge believer in, like, if you try to define value, I think one of the biggest coefficients of value is time. I think it's one of the only things that you can actually use as a variable to, like, truly define value. Value is how much time you put into something.
Sure.
If you put X amount of time into something, more time than something else, it's because you value it more. Whatever it is, right?
Sure.
If you value video games, if you value eating, if you value sleeping, if you value work, if you value family, like, it's the one coefficient you have is time.
Yeah,
that aligns with it. So
yeah. So talk to me about when it, because for you, and this is something I want to bring into this conversation, because honestly, in a lot of ways, whether you realize it or not, you were one of the first people I had a conversation regarding this podcast idea. And one of the stories that I've used with other people talking about, why I find this to be so important to talk about, is the fact that as you progressed through athletics, they use different percentages, like, along the way, like, okay, well, 0.01% of the high school athletes out there become Division I athletes.
yeah, here.
And then 0.01 of those become professional athletes in any whatever sport it is, right? Like I said, it's really a super small percentage. And in your line, and we talked about this in an early conversation, you and I, was this idea that, you were Jeff, the athlete, and you were Jeff, the football player, come to UW and play linebacker. And one step further, you were Jeff, briefly, the professional football player, and living in that 0.01 and 0.01 of the 0.01%. But then after sport ended for you, when in your mind you said, okay, I can't make it professionally in football, I'm done with this, having to transition to something else and realize that, like, the 0.01, the 0.01 in mortgage lending or in the banking world is, like, way up here, but I'm back down here. Like, I want you to kind of just walk me and the audience through how you worked through that.
Yeah, good question. Okay. The reason why I'm kind of hesitating is it's a long story that I want to try and condense. And if people that know me or friends that know me know that, like, I have a tendency to ramble, so I'm going to try and get concise.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. Right. So, I guess I can kind of sum it up in a way of, the one thing about sports, and especially about college, is you understand very early on that you are not as good as you think you are.
Okay.
But if you had success, you realize it's the journey, not the destination, right?
Okay.
So you realize that, like, all right, I started out, came to college. I was, good high school football player. I got a chance, got a scholarship, came to Wisconsin. Wisconsin just came off a Rose Bowl.
So they're good. They're good program.
They're a good program.
Like
right?
it's a big deal at that
Big
point.
deal, good program. And, your coaches, when you're getting recruited, kind of give you this, like, hey, you got a chance to play early.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, okay. And then you realize when you get there, like, they were lying. That was a sales.
Yeah, I mean,
Sales
it's
pitch,
all
right?
the world's sales, right? Like we're always selling
The sales,
something.
yeah. It's all business, right? It's all anyway. So I'm there, and I'm practicing, and I'm realizing, like, the starters are just better.
Yeah.
They're just better than me. They understand the game more. They're quicker. They're able to move. But you're seeing, like, there's this movie called 13th Warrior, and
Sorry, 13th Warrior.
13th Warrior.
Okay.
It was a movie that came out back in the early 2000s, and there's a story of, like, the lead character Antonio Banderas is like this guy from another part of the world, and he now connects with these like Vikings.
Okay.
And these Vikings are talking, but they're talking in their language, and he's trying to learn it. But, like, over time, it kind of shows this, like, chronological or time
lapse, like
of, like, him picking up little words after a while, and then all of a sudden now he's able to speak the language. And it's time lapses over probably months or so,
right.
but he's able to, like, pick it up. And I think that's kind of it was something I always think of as somewhat indicative of college sports, right? You come in, you have, like, this skill set, but picking it up takes time.
Yeah.
There's some people that can pick it up really fast, and some people that can't. And so for me, I understood as I was practicing and learning, and I was on the scout team, I was able to pick up the speed, the technique, the
language,
but more importantly, the urgency
of
what we had to do and what the goals were. And so you learn, like, all right, you learn your craft, right? You learn your job, you learn your technique, your mentality, what your role is of the defense. I'm just speaking on the defensive side here.
Mm-hmm.
And then, right.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I was able to pick up, like, kind of like the scheme,
Mm-hmm.
why we were going from, why are we manning on one side, zoning on the other? What's the reason? Well, then you pick up, and then as you got older, you were able to understand and kind of see the ones and zeros, right? To where you and your coach are talking on the sideline about, well, why don't we do this versus this?
Yeah,
because this is what
you become almost a co-coach, assistant coach, effectively process. Like, I'm seeing this.
Like, we plan for this. They're doing this. Like, I think we got to switch this here. I'm gonna start spilling it to Jimmy instead of whatever. Right? Trying. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I say all this to say, you learn that, like, I remember coming on and being a wide-eyed freshman to being a kind of a grizzly vet, in a sense,
Yes.
and understanding the game. And then you try and get to the league. I got a cup of coffee there. While it was great, it felt different. We can discuss it if you want down the road, but we don't need to go into it now. And then when I got released, coming back home and being like, all right, I'm going to start my career in the mortgage world over at M&I Bank, which then became BMO. How do all right, I'm back down to freshman.
Yeah.
But I know that space.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I know that arena. I know that feeling. And I had success.
Yep.
So, all right, I can do this part. I can grind. I can learn my craft. I can understand my footwork, understand my technique. I can then get to a point of understanding, what our goals are as a mortgage team or more, the mortgage part of part of the bank, right?
Yep.
I'm gaining a better understanding of that. And then over time, I have this whole plan. And again, one of my biggest things is always, when I talk to people, is always about mentorship and connecting with people that are in your craft that have very similar attributes or traits. There were a number of guys on the realtor side, and a number of bankers that had played sports in the past. And I had a mentor in my father-in-law, who was my girlfriend's dad at the time, and now my father-in-law, who kind of instilled in me and helped me understand kind of like what the goals were of like banking in general. And so it was just like I had the muscle memory.
Yep.
For this transition. And so for me, that was what was extremely beneficial. I fell back to being a freshman again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The wide-eyed freshman. But I knew the steps it took to become successful.
Sure.
Because I had done it.
Yeah.
So I had this muscle memory that I think really provided me a leg up, and I had a drive because I didn't want to be just a football guy that then now couldn't do it after and had to rest on the laurels of yesteryear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's
Did that answer your question?
It does. It does for sure. Yeah. And I think that it opens up a whole Pandora's box of further questions. But I think also, that's part of why I asked you on the show is, I don't necessarily I want this show to be inspirational for individuals listening to it, understanding that sport is something where you realize, and everybody realizes at a certain point, it's like, I'm going to have another 30 to 70 years, depending on how long you live and whenever sport stops for you, of my life. I have to have a purpose, a passion, a direction beyond sport. And it's those individuals that I want to talk to. So hearing that from you, but what I love about what you said is the idea that the work you put in college. And I think that this is something that I found really valuable too about college is college didn't necessarily teach me about my vocation.
Yeah.
Like I'm a kinesiology major who's in the movement training world, and they're like, oh, well, it helped you a lot. And I'm like, did it really? Like, I can't go back and look at the books that I read and be like, oh yeah, this is directly reflective of how I train my people. But it taught me how to learn, which then gave me a lot of really important tools for the rest of my life. And it sounds like similarly, it's like for you football, it taught you how important grinding is. And I love this quote, right? Like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
And it comes about to that point of, if I just put my head down, work hard, but what also sounds interesting, and this is where I want to go next, is not just putting my head down into whatever my craft is and working hard. I have to do that. And I have to make sure that I find and utilize my ability to connect, to build relationships, to do those things. And I'm curious for you how impactful that part of it was to your early and ongoing success.
I mean, I think it's all, now I am a huge believer, and I think I have been for a long time. I think I've showcased it through action. Like I'm a big relationship person.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe relationships are paramount to any success you have, especially in a capitalist society. I don't know if we can go there, but like in that space, like it is the foundational principle around how you find success. I look at things and I say, if you could have education, opportunity, or mentorship, which would you take first?
I mean, looking at it from my perspective, I would take mentorship first.
Right. And I would say I would take mentorship every day, all day. And the reason why is because, education obviously is a great tool. And again, there's some things, that's kind of I probably should there's some baselines there, like zero education is probably
everything's got gray. Like as though the whole world's a continuum of gray areas.
Yeah. So, but from the standpoint of like education gets you to a point.
You have to choose one.
Yeah, if you had to choose one. Education gets you to a point, and then education provides you opportunity. But the problem is a lot of times with opportunity, you get kind of a paralysis by analysis where like you don't know which way to go because you have so many options and you don't want to make the wrong choice. And what happens is that's where mentorship plays a huge role because it can help you kind of like put guardrails on or find opportunity that ties in with your value add or abilities. And so, sorry, I might be.
No.
So I'm trying to get back.
Well, I think that. So just let's go on that a little bit because to me also I think that mentorship, which is a really important topic, as and again we're going to bounce around a little bit, but I mean it's a state of life that we live in, and I think the difference of being an athlete where there's just this myopic focus of everything driven towards just one goal versus the life you live now, right? We talked about it briefly in the bio, but You are in the banking industry. You're also a husband. You're a father of 4 daughters, right? I'm a father of 2 daughters. And we're talking right now. In fact, we literally yesterday we went to the climbing gym, and I was talking to my one daughter who is a hard worker. She's driven. She wants to win everything.
Yep.
But sometimes with that comes this desire to avoid making mistakes or failing, right? And to me, the mentor piece of it sometimes is like in my experience.
Yeah.
A lot of what I've learned from my mentors is what mistakes did you make so that I don't have to make those mistakes. And to me, that is a massive piece, because sometimes you can also make the choice to go, you made that mistake and I see what you did. I'm still going to try it because for some reason I feel like my unique skill sets, what I have, are going to allow me the opportunity to have maybe a little bit more success, or the kind of success that I want.
Yeah.
Different than maybe what you do.
Or you realize we're all not equal. So there are, I mean,
we are all our own individual selves.
Right? Or, my daughters, I want to be careful on how I say things, but like my daughters are much more flexible than I am. So there are things that they can do. And again, like my big thing right now is movement is, when you're old, like football is one of those other things too. Like, or like older than I used to be. Sorry. Thank you very much. I am older than I used to be. So therefore, football is one of those sports that these very like power movements, and it's like a lot of that stuff doesn't transfer over very well when you're in my age range now. Like there's no need to get a 300-pound lineman off me, so I don't know if I need to do, bench press of, massive weight or squatting of massive weight. And so movement.
It's the upside to the downside.
Yes.
Right. It's like there's upside to being able to back squat and bench press and those kinds of things to a point. And then what's the downside of continuing to go from there? And it changes again as life changes. Right? Because
and so for me, they have the ability to do things that I can't do. You know what I mean? Just from a flexibility standpoint and from a mobility standpoint.
Well, and their age too. I mean, they're just, right. I mean, kids are like,
but that's what I'm saying, right? Like there's just some natural, like innate things that they have a greater ability to do than I do, and vice versa. And so to try and say we should all go try and squat 135, don't know if all of us can do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know if all of us can go do a hot yoga class for 90 minutes. You know what I mean? I.e., I can't. You know what I mean? So I can, but I won't put a lot of movement. Yeah, just be doing like sitting and sweating out, all this sweating. Right. And so, I think what you realize over time is, we all have special traits, we all have special skill sets, and we need to figure out ways to like utilize those. And I think that's where mentorship can come into play. And going back to your point around, avoiding failure.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a young dad, my big thing was I didn't want them to get hurt. So I was always like super coddling, super overbearing, protective. Where I feel like now I'm more about them pushing themselves. One of my closest friends has this conversation around, and I've basically just taken the phrase of making sure my kids have independent thought.
Cool.
And I think independent thought has to be curated or created through doing something, being engaged, actually experiencing the situation, whether it be failing, whether it be succeeding, whether it be like, as much as I think you learn through losses and learn through failure, I think it's good to get some success.
Sure.
Right? Sure. It makes you realize like, oh, I worked this hard for a reason.
Yeah.
And I was able to dominate. I was able to, win. I was able to do something that other person wasn't prepared for because my preparation was greater than theirs. So I think that's where mentorship can come into play, is where you can kind of, a friend of mine talks about how he played basketball at a high level, and he talks about when he coaches like kids, he's like, they're so slow. Like, everything is so slow. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, are they moving in like molasses? Like, and I thought about that because what he's saying is he knows. Like, I think as you get older and you get more advanced or wise in your whatever your respective sport is, you know what's about to happen, right? Like, practice makes perfect, right? It's this idea around practicing so that it just becomes second.
You see patterns.
You see patterns. You see, like, all right, this everybody does the same thing. Like, everybody has probably 7 to 15 plays that they just are their go-to plays, and they know work, and they know it works with their player personnel. And so just when do they run that? Well, that's based on down and distance. That's based on like position, like where are they out on the field, what side of the field they're on. Like, you just learn those tendencies, and then through those tendencies, you're able to react much faster.
Right.
When you're young, you don't have that, but you have to experience it, and that's what practice is for. So
Yeah.
I think when you think about kids, when you think about you at a younger age, you just didn't have the reps. Right. It's repetitions. Right?
Yeah.
So you just didn't have the reps yet. So it's all about getting reps, and that means experience. That means experiential knowledge, and through that experiential knowledge, you then are better prepared for anything that comes at you that you maybe haven't seen before.
Sure.
Because you have some it has some recognizable attributes that you can. Oh, this is like this. Oh, this looks like this.
Right.
Oh, and then even in work, right? Like, this client is more standoffish, so you need to be more, tactile in how you discuss, their situation. Or this one is a talker, so you need to be very like, you need to be able to take all the information in and kind of discern what needs to happen. Or, you know what I mean? It's like you realize like, oh, this is this type of person, or this is this type of person. Not saying that anybody's the same, but it's just saying that like there are tendencies and attributes that person has that are recognizable quicker. Yeah, you can make your meeting or your situation more successful.
Yeah. Well, so what you're saying, I think, is a really great perspective, because one could think about, okay, Jeff's in the banking industry, so he knows numbers, he knows, all the logic, the black and white of an industry like that in the financial world, right? But what you're saying, and I 100% believe this to be true, because it's exactly the same in our industry. And I think that when you talk to anybody that has success in, I would call it like human service industries, right? Where effectively whatever it is your product is mortgages or personal banking or business banking or whatever it might be. Ours is fitness and health and building somebody's strength. That's the product. But the most success comes when you're actually paying attention to the human being across from you, and you get the reps in, figuring out, how is this person like others I've dealt with successfully?
Yeah.
I've dealt with this person and it didn't go well. And then I realized I screwed up some way, somehow. I learned, I got better. And this next person I dealt with that had similar traits, right? Again, everyone's individual, but at the end of the day, there's patterns.
There's patterns.
And that's why there's so many personality tests out there and all these things, because there's tools out there to recognize these patterns. But then when you deal with that person, you go, oh, okay, now that worked. And in this category, as it were, that this consistently works, and keep trying it and keep trying it and keep seeing and going, oh, okay. But that is the point, is that to have success in anything, you can't just jump in and think, I'm gonna have it right now. You might get lucky, but luck is gonna be in small doses. And then as time goes on and you get more and more experience, the luck happens more often, and it's more of a, well, I got lucky, but only because I just have so many different levers to pull on, or tools in my tool belt, whatever analogy you want to use. And that's what I'm able to now apply.
Yeah. Somebody said this, and I'm going to butcher the phrase, but something along the lines of, every job is easy depending upon the tools that you have.
Sure.
Right? Like, if you have the right tools, everything can be easy.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, putting together a desk can be the most difficult challenge in the world, right? Yeah. If you don't have the right tools, And so I think about experience and knowledge from a human component, or from a human perspective. is truly just it is a repetition. It is a experiential knowledge gaining exercise. It is how many reps do you have at this? And I think that is what football instilled, taught, ingrained in me, was this idea around get your reps.
Mhm.
Like nothing that you value, and that goes back to this time thing. Nothing that you value is immediate.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to put your time in. You have to put your reps in. I mean, I think from a business standpoint, from a banking standpoint, you see individuals that want to build something, but they want to start right away, and they want to be able to make, and they need X, Y, and Z, X amount of money to be able to do that. That is a very difficult challenge. Like there are very few people that are LeBron, that are Michael Jordan, you know what I mean, that have that je ne sais quoi right off the gate, right? The gift from God, or, you know, or the higher power, or whatever you believe in, you know, to say, hey, I can do this right out the gate. And even most of them didn't have that ability. Everybody knows the story of Michael Jordan not being on the varsity team.
Right. Right.
So, I just think, you know, time and repetition, which was instilled in me from, you know, my Pee Wee football league, you know, playing for the Southside Raiders. So, you know, it was about reps, getting your reps, running the play to where we know what it is right out the gate. You know where you're supposed to go. You know who you're supposed to block. You know what gap you're supposed to take. You know what's supposed to be open. You know, and then on the defensive side, you know, hey, when they line up in this formation, this is what they're going to run. You just start to see patterns, and then you react off those patterns.
Yeah. And so what I'm curious about, from the standpoint of, so in football, in sport, a lot of ways, and even in for us in movement and that kind of thing too, it's easy to go, oh yeah, I get reps. Reps are built into our workouts, right? Like 10 reps, 8 reps, 5 reps. For you, what was the most influential, maybe either category of banking that you were in, or experience you had where you felt like you got the best or the most reps that have helped shape your current success? So in the banking industry, in the mortgage industry, your experiences through those, because you've got 2 decades of experience.
Yeah.
Where was the most influential time period for you?
Good question. This is going to be very football-esque.
It's okay.
It'd be when I started. I think to learn to have football.
Yep.
To understand, come into a freshman year, you're wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. You don't know what's really going on. You're around people that have had success for the past 3, 4, 5, 6 years. They have the winning recipe.
Mm-hmm.
You learn that recipe. You succeed. Now you're back to being a freshman again. Knowing that I had the ability to succeed at a high level, I felt really confident about my plan.
In the banking world.
Okay. Around crawl before you walk, before you run. Get started, understanding the basic blocking, tackling, understanding what is my job, what is my actual role, okay? What is my craft, what am I doing? My reps have to be good reps, right? It can't just be, I mean, I'm sure in your world, like a squat where they're dipping at the bottoms,
or the ways,
you know what I mean, or they're leaning one side, or they're, knees going in. Like that's not a good rep. So we got to get back to getting our technique down, right? So understanding my technique to then be able to fulfill and to do my rep in the best manner. With sports, with banking, it was understand my craft and understand like what we got, a plethora of programs, a plethora of products. What product makes sense for what type of client?
Sure.
And then again, see patterns, understand like this person, kind of conservative, probably doesn't want an interest only product. Like this person doesn't want an ARM or adjustable mortgage. This person probably wants a fix. This person has a little more risk. This person gets a huge bonus every year at the end of the year, but he commands he owns a business, so he just takes a meager salary. So, okay, this person probably does need an interest only, or maybe he can take a 1-year option and then put a big chunk of money down at the end of the year because he gets a big bonus from his distributions or something like that. Like, you learn how that person, you learn your client. And so for me, I think when I was young, it was this first like understanding, all right, I gotta get my proverbial, SHIT down, right? Like I gotta know my stuff first before I can start to like tell people how to do their stuff. So I would say the beginning of my career where I was around and I was really focusing on connecting with the other bankers that were around me at that time. They were older, more established bankers. They were really good at their craft. I was fortunate enough to be a part of a really good team. M&I Bank was the premier bank for mortgage lending at that time.
Okay.
So learning from them and learning like different traits, like this guy was really good at like building relationships. This guy was the know-it-all. He knew everything and he knew where to put you, but he came across like Rain Man in a meeting. So it was like, all right, that doesn't feel good at a meeting, but that person got put in the perfect structure for that, for their product, for their
Skill sets.
Their skill set, but their financial picture. This was like the mortgage mom. She was sweet, kind, like connected with people, and people just felt like they just felt
Taken care of.
They felt like they were taken care of, right? And then this person, maybe they didn't do a great job, and it was a consistent, and that's why you didn't see the deals come through. And so, like, you learn so many different skill sets. You like, for me, I was kind of a sponge trying to like
just pulling,
like little. Okay, all right. And then you see the type of client, you're like, all right, client comes in with their mom. So, all right, how do I make sure that everybody feels comfortable and knowing that you want to, when you have a husband wife or you have a husband wife come in, it's like you would see some individuals that would speak directly to the husband or directly to the wife, whoever made the money. But then you understand. Then if maybe they didn't know that group or that family
dynamic.
That dynamic is about like, well, he makes all the decisions, she makes all the money, he makes the decision, or vice versa, right? Like being able to make sure you make eye contact with both people, make sure everybody feels comfortable, right? And then, because again, when that person gets in their car and goes back, it's that conversation is where you win. It's not the conversations you have in front of you. It's the conversation they like you.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a culmination of things. It's all about, for me, it was when I started, and then learning that lesson of getting better over time, and then achieving that. And then I'll say on the side, we own some real estate, and I learned a lot through ownership of real estate. So,
ownership from a leadership perspective.
No, ownership through like, I'm not just what's a Rogaine thing? Like, I'm not just what's the thing?
Rogaine.
Like people that have that need hair. Like there was an old commercial. Like, I'm not just a sponsor. I'm a client.
Oh, kind of.
Yeah. I have the experiential knowledge as well of owning real estate. So I knew kind of what
I'm dealing with it myself.
I'm dealing with myself also. So this isn't just me telling you like acting like I know what's best for you. This is me saying like I've also gone through that. I know that process.
I've lived this.
I've lived it, right? So I have that experiential knowledge as well, and I'm new at it too. So we're all going through it together. So I for me, I would say the most instrumental part for I would think from my success, or my version of success, was probably that first 3 to 5 years of being in mortgage lending, especially because then right around year 4, we had the Great Recession. And so then you learned like what mattered and what didn't. At the end of
start to strip away things and go,
it
wasn't necessary.
Or just knowing that what clients wanted was what's best for them.
Yeah.
And you had to you couldn't focus on you. Like that's another thing about banking that I'm a huge believer in, is we have a fiduciary responsibility to the bank with which we work for. But at the end of the day, I think there's a sweet spot where we can also be extremely beneficial and helpful to our clients, by being truthful around kind of what this deal looks like in your perspective, and especially if you have experiential knowledge on the outset.
Yeah.
So for me, I thought I was able to mesh those two worlds together really well and provide, I thought, a fiduciary responsibility to the bank that I worked for, but also to the client.
Sure.
In a sense of just giving them, I thought, sound advice.
Yeah.
And the best, service that we could provide.
Yeah. And I think that in some worlds, and the things that come to mind all the time for me, just because of the world I live in, because I also live in a world where I'm a part of the 100 Men group in Dane County. And
Charlie, right?
yeah, Charlie and Jason is, so we're on the board together. But there's a lot of insurance guys, there's a lot of financial guys, and banking. And I think, in a lot of ways, it's not all the industries, because there's certainly our industry too. And you can go down the list of different health practitioners that are just kind of quacks or just not great, and give the industry a bad name. But I think in a lot of those industries, right, it's those individuals, and there's commercials, right? All the kinds of commercials for financial institutions are just like, what was it, Carl, right? Carl, the Branster guy, right? And so, though, banking can leave a bad taste in almost anybody's mouth.
Yeah.
And I think that those that end up being really successful in those kinds of industries, and again, insurance, financial, banking, are the ones that are doing what you're talking about, where you're going, hey, yes, I work for this institution, and at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to make sure that we're not screwing ourselves over. Simultaneously, we develop a relationship here. I care about you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what makes sense. It's going to make sense for the bank. It's going to make sense for you. And then it's your decision to make at that point.
Sure. Yeah. And again, you realize that things rely upon the relationships that you've built and cultivated over time with that particular individual, client or non-client, whatever it is. Like it's still a function of like our relationship. I think there's a component of it too, where I think I learned that through sports, in the sense of my coaches. You get to UW. Well, UW back then was a little bit different. Like 9903, it was a little more of like negative reinforcement was kind of the way with which they coached. Like, there's a lot of I love this about it, and I learned ways to put curse words together that I never heard of before. Like I never knew that you could put those two words. You get cursed out, you'd be like, oh, that was crazy. That works. Okay. Well, I feel bad. And also that was creative, coach. I appreciate that. So you learn that, but it was one of those things where I remember them talking about it. It's like, look, if I stop yelling at you, that's when
I don't care anymore. Yeah.
I don't. So like you learn that maybe sometimes telling somebody something that they don't want to hear is it could also be beneficial.
Yeah.
Right. It's making sure that they don't develop bad habits. It's making sure that they don't that they understand that they're not going to always be right. I think with, especially in business, right, there is a huge people can tend to believe, especially in a market like Madison or Dane County, where it's extremely insulated from like the larger issues that America has to deal with. And from the standpoint, like financially, people think any decision they make has turned gold for them probably for the last 10, 15 years. And that might not always be the case. And so having prudent business practices, having a thought process around, what pragmatism looks like from a business standpoint, not always trying to swing. I think, the proverbial, you don't always swing for a home run when you play baseball. Hey, maybe you might, small ball might win a game, you know what I mean? Right. Well, so it's like that. Like, how do you progressively, what does success look like for you? And how can I help get you to your goals?
Yeah.
And it's not always a yes, we can.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some no's.
Well, and that's the, this has been a running joke with just friends of mine who I worked with or collaborated with who aren't Midwest people, or maybe are and then moved away and that sort of thing. Like I've grown up, born and raised in Wisconsin, like you, more Milwaukee area, and then travel this way. Like the Midwest nice idea, you know, and I much prefer the word kindness, because to me, when I think of kindness, I think of what you're talking about. Is kindness means I care about you enough to sometimes say, no, you're wrong, and here's why. Not just know you're wrong and leave it at that, and trying to, and certainly I've made those mistakes with my daughters and my wife and with friends of mine too. You know, you hope that they love you enough to forgive you for that. But saying, no, you can't have that, or no, you can't do that, here's why. To me, that is way more powerful in business relationships and in personal relationships than simply just consistently being effectively a yes man.
Yeah, I think you touch on a very specific value add in that, is that it's saying no, but then here's the why. The why part, I think, is the most beneficial part. That's the kindness part.
Yeah.
Explaining your position with clarity is a huge value add and a necessity to provide honest, strong relationships. If you cannot explain the reason, that creates uncertainty, that creates skepticism, that creates questioning of your
integrity.
And I wouldn't go as far as say integrity, but of your understanding of what this relationship was supposed to be about. Right? Yeah. I thought, again, when you're in the world of building relationships, I think business is just a function of just building relationships. If you can't explain the reasons why you say no, or why you want to go left versus right with clarity, it creates a questioning of, well, what are we doing here? If we're not speaking honestly with each other, is this a relationship? Or this is now just a one side. You did just want my deal. This was transactional. That's my problem. You know what I mean? And that's why I need to go somewhere else. That's why I need to go to a different bank or a different institution or a different gym or what have you, because, I'm the customer. Right? Like I'm here providing you my time, service, money, what have you. I'm thinking I'm getting some type of, I'm building a relationship here. I think I'm supposed to get the best tutelage, the best knowledge, the best information that I can get. If you can't explain to me why I can't do this deal, or why this deal doesn't make sense for me, or why, my interest rate is here versus here. Well, all right, then now I have skepticism. Now I need to just check my math. I need to go somewhere else. I need to check you're telling me I can't get my gains in the gym that I want to get. Well, because maybe that's not the right gain you should be getting right now because of where your body is. But you can't explain it to me. I need to go check another gym and see, maybe I'm not getting what I need to get out.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that kindness piece, to make the differentiation between nice and kindness, and then kindness is the why.
Yeah.
And I think, and with clarity and tact, right? Like again, as much as I loved my coaches, I'm no longer a 18, 19, 20-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you could talk to me the same way. Probably someone will be fine talking to me. Okay. So it's like your grandma, right? Like your grandma tells you something like,
you get to a certain age, you don't care anymore.
Yeah. I would still say, like, all those coaches, they're still coach. Coach Alvarez is still Coach Alvarez. It's funny. I hear like some of the players call him Barry. I'm like, wow. So Barry, call him Coach Barry.
Walk in the room and call him Barry. Like, ooh, I don't know what's that.
Yeah, that's not happening on this side of town. So,
I'm curious to just kind of wrap our conversation up and bring it full circle. Is, you talk about this, and I definitely hear characteristics of leadership within what you do with your job. What I'm curious about is, you talk about the negative feedback, let's call it, approach that the coaches took. I don't think that really flies a whole lot anymore in today's current age with coaching. As somebody who coaches my daughter's softball team, right? I understand the importance of positive reinforcement. I also understand the importance of sitting down and saying, again, we can't do it this way, and here's why.
Yeah.
But it certainly has to have a lot more tact than it did in previous.
For sure.
My curiosity, though, for you is, grew up in a world where there weren't women playing football. You were around a bunch of boys and then men and then grown men for a brief period with the Vikings, and yet you're a father of 4 daughters. So how for you have you taken the things you've learned from football, taken the things you've learned from business and success in business, and then applied it to fatherhood and your daughters?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously a huge topic. We can go on
But rabbit hole. I think what I would say, just to kind of try and wrap it up quickly, is but I grew up in a house of 3 women. It was my dad, my mom and dad together, and then I had 2 sisters.
Okay.
So
Were they old? Were you older?
I had an older and a younger.
Okay, that's your middle.
I'm the
Okay.
right? So,
Yep.
and my mom was, my dad was probably more stoic, I guess we could probably call it now, where my mom was more of the
Enforcer?
enforcer. She was a little more, I want to say instigator, because she got me in so much trouble sometimes with my dad, but that was all, that's just fun stuff. But I would say I grew up around women, so I was, transitioning. Like I do believe there is a difference between men and women.
Yeah.
So therefore, I understood, and I would what I thought was always cool is my dad and I had a lot of time together, just going to practice.
True sport.
Yeah, he was true sport. So he was my coach of basketball and football. Okay. And so, and football was, we lived on the Far East Side, and we would drive to practice on the South Side. So it was belt line for 20 minutes every day, at least, or every other day, or it felt like every day. But it was all, he and I just had time together. And it wasn't this component. It wasn't a component. It wasn't this period of deep thought and discussion.
Yeah.
And talking about birds and bees. It wasn't that. It was quiet, very quiet most of the time. But there would be little points where, there'd be questions, or it'd be this, or he'd say, "Hey, when you're doing this, think about it this way, not this way." You know what I mean? And not this "What do you mean, Dad? But tell me more." It wasn't that. It was just, I learned that I could ask him anything. He was always open book, but we didn't have to talk about everything.
Yeah.
And so I think as a man, I had a great mentor.
Yeah.
In my father. Right?
Yeah.
So I saw how he interacted with my mom. He didn't have to be the loudest. He didn't have to be, put my foot down here. But he had very stern beliefs that he instilled in me, and he instilled in our family, right? But he didn't have to be the loudest in the room. And that's not to sit here and say my mom was the loudest in the room, anything like that. It's just more to say that there was a way to interact with people that people responded to.
Quiet confidence.
Yeah, quiet confidence, right?
Sure, yeah.
Humble, humbleness, kind of a level of stoicism that I always appreciated.
Mhm.
I didn't know what it was until I read about it.
Yeah, I mean, the kid, you're it's a stoic,
But because it really isn't, Dad. So I had a good mentor in seeing how to interact and engage with women.
Yeah.
Coming to college, that's a larger topic, but my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, we met in high school.
Okay.
So we went to the same college. So we were together often. So we had a really good relationship, because I think we grew up together. So we know each.
You knew who each person was.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We knew that we grew up together because we kind of meshed, right? How we grew up, right? So you had that component. And then I have 4 daughters. I'm going to figure out the best way to communicate with them, because I believe I want to do what's best for them. I want to make sure they're the best version of themselves they can be. And I understand, again, going back to kind of is a full circle, the conversation around starting, right? Understanding your technique, but your footwork, right? Hey, my dad showed me the way. I need to show them the way. Yep. Okay. I don't know how to be a girl. So, all right, I better learn. I better sit down and interact with them, talk with them, discuss their life. What are they dealing with? I better be someone who they feel extremely comfortable with. And I better ask questions to my wife. She knows how to be a girl. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I should be asking some questions too. I'm not omniscient. I don't know everything. Like, I better learn, right? And that's, again, my wife Tiffany is a mentor to my 4 daughters around what it means to be a woman.
Right.
So I better learn something, right? So, and I'm fortunate enough in banking, there's a large subset of women that I get a chance to work with, and I get a chance to ask questions. My lawyer is a woman, and it's pricey to ask her questions, but like, it's good. It's good. It's extremely good information, right? You know, I am a big fan of women, so therefore, I always have that opportunity of mentorship and learning about mentorship from women in a multitude of ways. And I still have my mother, which I'm extremely blessed and happy to have, and talk to her about questions. So I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I think I always know who to call.
Yeah.
I think I have a good resource. I think I have a good network. So again, going back to network, understanding the basics, understanding mentorship. I think these are like kind of stalwarts in my mind and in my life that I really focus on, and I think are my version of success. But my success path is through the people that I connect with, the understanding of time is the biggest component to determining value and determining success and putting that work in. And at the end of the day, it's having a care for the individuals that you have around you. You want to make sure you do the best, you do right by them, so that they can be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the theme that I'm hearing beyond mentorship, because I feel like the idea of mentorship, or even the idea of networking, for a lot of people, is what you kind of said. It's a transactional thing.
Yeah. Again, I think that's another long conversation probably around just the idea of, what does one think of when they hear a word, and like, how do you or I see that word having the experiences that we've had? How do we see that word versus how they see that word, right? I can see network, especially when you're young and what's your goal? If your goal is just trying to make money or and again, in a capitalist society, yeah, you got to figure out how to do that.
Yep.
Like, it's all about transaction, all about how many people you meet, 5 no's equal a yes. So, all these things, right? But I think in that 5 no's equal a yes, like, hopefully you're building a relationship
With the 4 no's.
right? With the 4 no's, right? You know what I mean?
It might be a no right now,
Correct,
but
right? But hopefully, right, through that conversation, through opportunities where you find value to bring that individual in, for that second conversation that might be a no, right? It's, what did you do in that time period? Were there laughs? Were there discussions around something other than just banking or just working out? Like, was there a conversation about family? Was there a conversation about like what they like to do? Those type of things, right? It needs to be more than just a transaction.
yeah. I mean, I think that's to me, a massive piece of the whole thing is to continue to find ways to add value to other people's lives.
For sure.
And in doing so, that's going to lead to success. And success, as you get older, I feel like you realize this more. It's not strictly financial success.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Success is the relationship. Success is the connection. Success is being able to go somewhere and see somebody you haven't seen in a long time and connect and re-engage and all those things. Like, that's part of success too, is to just be able to continue to foster those relationships, because they're fulfilling.
Yeah. I think it's worth, I don't know. I think it's worth more than the monetary value.
They
trying to achieve.
there's no price you can put on.
I don't know. Like, I would have a hard time.
Monetary value.
I wish, this is where I wish I was smarter and I had like all these memories. I have these memories. I've read enough books and they're like these little like phrases and stuff like that. But what is it? There's a story about, I feel like it was a writer. It was like I can't remember his name, but like he was at a party and this guy had all this money and it's like, man, like, this is amazing. Like, what do you think about this? He's like, like, I have something that this guy doesn't have. And he's like, what? He's like, I have enough, right? It's this idea that you don't need all the money in the world. Like, you don't, like, how much.
No, there's no amount of money that's ever enough.
Correct, right? You get to, I remember that. I remember trying to buy a car when I was really young, like when I was after college. Trying to get a car, and I was always like, it's like every time you get a car, there's another version that's better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get like the
next year, the Accord.
That's right. It would be like, all right, I'm gonna get a Honda Accord. We're like, oh, but they have the, I don't know, whatever next Honda Accord. But then it was like, or Acura. It's like, okay, I get the Acura, but then Acura had Lexus. And it was like, oh, I'll get the Lexus. Well, Lexus is Mercedes. Oh, get the Mercedes. Then there's some new car that, like, you can only fit 2 people in. It was fascinating. There's always something. So then you realize you always are trying to keep up with the Joneses. And then to keep up with the Joneses sometimes means like you take out, you're not your true authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
And then now what are you doing?
Right.
What are you trying to become? And that's problematic. So I think you learn that as you get older. And so that's something that only you'll learn through experience. I also believe like you have to still try and buy the new car because you have to see what everybody's talking about. And so then it's this conversation that I've had with buddies of mine around, like, you don't want to be the guy that owns the boat. You want to be a guy that knows the guy that owns the boat.
Yep.
Because then you want to get on the boat, but not have to do the expense, have to deal with the expense of owning the boat.
Yep.
And then you realize like, oh, the boat's cool every other, or like, once in a while. I don't think you need to have the boat. Then again, not knocking anybody who has a boat.
I'm the same guy, man. I got a lot of boat friends.
Yeah. I would say the boat friends are like, what I've always heard about guys or people with boats, because it's guys and girls. It was they always say the best day. The two best days of owning a boat are when you buy it and then when you sell it. So, but I don't know. But anyway,
yeah. Yes, I feel a way about a number of different toys out there. And I mean, I live in a neighborhood where extra space or outbuildings, that kind of thing, aren't necessarily available to me to just have a bunch of toys. But sometimes it's like, I would rather just rent that a few times than.
I'm a huge believer in renting. That might not be a shock for someone that owns some real estate, but like, I'm a huge believer in renting because I do believe like it's okay to like trial. Like a trial period is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Try out something, see if you like it, right? Even, for people that come to Madison and want to, like, I say, rent on the east side or west side. Just kind of
see like the vibe is.
Yeah, if that's something you want, then you jump on it. But I think everybody has a tendency, like there's goals that they need to achieve. And do you want to do the due diligence to make sure that goal is actually a true goal? That's a conversation that we have often with clients or friends of ours around things. And then it goes back to time. Do they want to put the time in?
Yeah.
If they don't want to put the time in, then buy it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's not the value piece.
Right.
The value piece
is I want to own something.
And again, like there's no knock on that either. Right. Like I think that's when you get, as I've gotten older, that's the one thing I think I've learned the most. Or it's been the most, it's probably the most clarity. It's like, there's no one way to be.
Oh yeah.
There's no one way to be successful. So that was one of the hardest things for me. Like, I think growing up, or, that 25 to 35 or 35 range is like, what mortgage lending taught me was I got a chance to meet so many different people that were doing so many different types of jobs. And I just couldn't believe. I remember a guy, like, he was a scientist that was trying to figure out how to make, like, was able to filter out like clear water to drink through like dirty, like crap, like fecal water, like something. Like and I remember coming to the lab, and like he was able to like drink. I don't even know how to say this, but basically he was filtering out the water from this
fecal matter or
whatever, and it was like testing it, and it was drinkable. I remember showing he did it and he drank it. I remember being like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, like, but the necessity around like making sure we have clean water for people to drink and making sure there's different ways we can provide that. I was fascinated at that. I was fascinated at like just the different ways you can make a dollar in this
Mhm.
world. And at the same point, I thought you could only do these things. I thought you could be a doctor, lawyer, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know that you could, I knew nothing about the trades, right? Like
Yeah.
I just thought I didn't know. I mean, we had a house, but my dad was either kind of tinkering on things at times or we'd bring in a plumber or something
Yeah.
like that. But I just, and then you think what success looks like is supposed to be this, but it's not. Right.
Mhm.
And so, just going back to your point, I think, there's so many different ways to be successful and everybody has a different version of success. And the, the most interesting, beautiful thing about our world, and I think, again, not getting political or anything, like what I think is sad to see is how we're not able to see the good in everybody.
Mhm.
Like we're just trying to figure out how to differentiate and say, well, this person's bad.
Yep. Like
So this is the negative.
put you in a box.
Yeah, put you in a
effectively.
box.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the hardest things for a optimist and believer of people to not see the world as like, oh, we got to categorize because of this, or you have a bumper sticker, or you like, it's just like, man, like I just, but I do think in the business world, being a person of color and kind of being, I don't want to say there's a rarity of it, but there's just, just from a demographic standpoint, like
Sure.
there's not a lot of me's in the banking side. The relationships I've been able to cultivate, grow, I think are indicative of the true connections that human beings can have.
The human connection.
Right. Where it's
Period.
yeah,
Bar none.
period. Like like regardless of race, color,
Cost.
creed, ethnicity,
Politics.
yeah, all that stuff on the side. To be able to, there are times I've been able to sit down with people I think would think there's nothing there. There's no way you guys have anything in common. It's completely false.
Yeah.
And I'm a part of that, and I can speak very honestly, truthfully that is not the case. Like we have real connection with people that old white men,
Yeah.
80 years old that have more money than they could imagine.
People walk in the room and be like, there's no way those two people and are friends or connected.
This is BS. Like this doesn't. That's just for show. Like,
This is a status relationship.
I call complete BS on it because I think when you put the time in on the relationship, I think what you find is we're more alike than we are.
Yeah. Cool. Man, I love that. This has been an awesome conversation.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity, man. I don't do a lot of these, and I've done. So I appreciate the opportunity, man. This has been great.
And I think that a kind of overarching theme has been a mentorship piece. Like mentorship piece, or just even connecting with you. Like, what is the best way? So, audience listening, and we'll put this in the show notes and that sort of thing. But what's the best way to connect with you if they want to just talk industry, if they want to talk you as a human being?
My email is jmack@parkbank.com. Park Bank is kind of where I work, and happy to sit down and build, or sit down and grab a cup of coffee anytime. It's jmack@parkbank.com. MOCK, not MAC, but or I don't know how I don't have a DM thing.
No, yeah. Here's the thing, right? Because like the social media piece of it, I think it's important to have, and certainly this is obviously, my world has changed because of this podcast, where I've had to just be more involved in social media.
Yeah.
But I also realized too, and it's interesting because a lot of my friends are similar age to what we are, and that kind of thing is like social media for me and for a lot of people has just been a really challenging piece to insert myself into, because I am also an optimist.
Yeah.
And I also look at that. I mean, and you can call it doom scrolling, but I feel like anything you do on social media is doom scrolling. It could be like all kinds of positive things about golf and vacations and everything else, and it's like a comparison status where it's like, oh, I'm not that, or I'm not there. I'm not, it's like, but what do I have right now?
I don't know where the value add is. And again, that's obviously a different conversation, a longer conversation. I just don't, I'm still in this whole optimist space of, I think it's just super dope to sit down with somebody, chop it up with them. You know what I mean? Grab lunch, grab a drink, if you don't drink, whatever, grab soda water. I don't care. Like just sit down and actually engage with somebody and get a chance to hear them out. I mean, yesterday was an interesting day of just multiple. I had a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like normally I don't eat that much. I don't eat that. I don't eat 3 meals a day, which is a different conversation. I'm sure you'll have some critique of mine.
Hey, no, nutrition is a rabbit hole. I don't try to dive down. It's wrong.
But yeah, no, it was one of my favorite days at work.
Yeah.
You know, because I think it was fun because it was a young college student that was looking to try and figure out her trajectory path. Then the lunch was a long time, one of my favorite client. Not even that, they're just like favorite people, couples, extremely close couple friend of mine and their business and what they're looking to do. And then the dinner was meeting with a coworker of mine and another client that's on a different path, but come from a very strong family and very wealthy family, and just kind of what he's looking to do. Now it's different. It was just a meeting. It was just a great day to discuss again that whole conversation of how success looks different at whatever different stages in life, but also different for different people. And I just thought it was a beautiful thing. So
Cool. So basically what you're saying is email you to set up a time to meet in person.
Yeah, please. Yeah, that'd be better. I can definitely do it. Email me, or I mean, again, I know I have LinkedIn. But I don't know how to message.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome, man. Hey, great conversation.
Boss.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to The Human Athlete. These conversations remind us that who we are beyond sport matters just as much as who we were in it. If this episode made you think or helped you see your own story a little differently, share it with someone who might need to hear it. I'm Jared Markowitz, and until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep finding ways to win the game that matters the most: life.